While I have been eagerly awaiting the lift to arrive, I have been busy building my little tiny workbench here. Because right there. Hello and welcome back to Automotive Tales. Today is the big day. So the reason I look like a scruff and I look knackered is because I've already done half a day's work. It's only 9:30. So all of this out here was covered in about an inch of mud after we'd had the tree surgeons in to make this old mess over here. So I scraped all of that this morning with a shovel and a wheelbarrow, and now it's time to install the lift. So I've just swept the first bay. I need to sweep the next bay here and clear all my electrical stuff out of the way back into the workshop. But I'll show you what I've been doing in the workshop. So while I've been waiting for the lift to arrive, I have been busy. So I've built myself a small workbench, as you can see here. So this is a fourth hand kitchen. I think I mentioned it in the previous episode. So I've left a gap in the middle so I can put a bin underneath, which is quite nice, took it out of the way. And it looks a bit strange with this big piece of wood running along the back of it. It's because I've designed it to be freestanding. I didn't want to put lots of bolts into the old walls here and into the floor, because it's actually got this lovely old original floor from when this was a stable. So it's all freestanding, but it's wedged pretty tightly, so it's going to be good for smacking bits of car parts around and not moving too far. Next job is to run sockets along this back wall. You can probably already see I've started to put the light switches in there, and there's another one on the other side of here. And I've also been shopping because if I walk this way, you can see there's a door. It looks like it's swinging from that doorway. It's not, it's just leaning there. I've got first few bits of CLS, because effectively what we're doing is back here in the workshop building a stud wall that's going to go underneath this beam here to separate all the dirty side, which is where Picasso is sitting, from what's going to be the clean side, which is where they are about to install some lifts. That nice diesely rattle you can hear in the background, and that wagon there, is my 4-post lifts. They have arrived. So Lift Giant have come with both the lifts on the same wagon, and now he's going to attempt to reverse it all the way up here into our yard. He's backing himself on this, and fair play to him. That's got to be a good 300 or 400 yards worth of reversing down a narrow lane and into our yard. It's just straightening up. This is not his first rodeo. So you know it's serious when it comes with its own metal frame just to hold the delivery. So as you can probably see, the lads have got the 2 lifts off the trailer. Trailer's gone off to do his next job, and the engineers are going to be here shortly to start putting it all together. These are not tiny little things either. So these are actually the XLT model from Lift Giant. It's the biggest one they do, because there's some pretty big vehicles to go in there. So yeah, right, some gratuitous time lapse, I think. Okay, so we are a few days down the line. Sadly, the fitting of the lifts took well into the night on the day that I was doing all the time lapse. And by that point, it was a bit too dark to do any filming. But the guys from Lift Giant, they stayed and right through into, it's about 7, 8 o'clock at night, getting these lifts installed. By the way, if the camera is shaking a bit, that's because it's absolutely freezing out here now. When they installed the lift, 4 days ago, it was lovely and warm, and we seem to have gone back into winter. So I am struggling to stay warm while I'm out here in the garage. I'm not going to stay here for long. And the reason I haven't got any more footage yet is because after that, I was very, very ill. And then I've been back at work for a couple of days, and it's now Friday night, and already it's going dark before I've had a chance to come out and film. So I haven't had a chance to play with my new lifts yet. But let me show you what we have got. So we have got not one, but two of the Lift Giant XLT, which is the biggest lift they do. And as you can see, they are a snug fit in these garages. But that's perfect. We did a lot of measuring and backwards and forwards with Mark to make sure these were going to be right. And look at the, I mean, the fit is perfect. So the doors will fit nicely in front of here. No wasted space here. And then the excess room then at the back gives us access to the controls and the power and these sockets that I've installed to allow us to put cars on trickle chargers. So as you can probably see, there's loads of cables here under the left-hand side of the ramp. That's because these are cable-operated lifts, and they have this great big single hydraulic cylinder here, which is what effectively pulls the ramps up through a set of pulleys. And then once you're up to the desired height, you actually bring the lift back down, and it drops onto these little latches here. So you can actually see there's the latch it's sitting on at the moment. So you never leave it hanging on these cables. You always want a little bit of flex in those when you're leaving it so it doesn't stretch the cables. And the weight of the car is then held on these rather than on the cables. But the great thing is, these are such high lifts, so they're 2.5 meter bed height, which means I can walk clearly around underneath here without clonking my head on anything. I've got a good, 6 or 8 inches, not like that, of clearance from my head to these lifts. So if I walk along, you can see loads and loads of space, which means when we've got cars up on the rafters there, we've got space to get in and out of cars, walk around, move about, and there's nothing on the floor to get in the way. We've got a good clean floor space between the lifts. This does, however, pose me one small problem. My intention was to run a stud wall underneath this joist you can sort of see here, and have a door in that corner to come into the storage bit. So this bit over here with the lifts will be where I store cars, and this bit where past the Picasso is sitting waiting for her sills to be done would be where I would work on cars. The only problem is there's a dirty great big post in the way. So I never actually thought that when I want to put a door here, there's going to be a post. So the door might have to be moved over to here, which isn't a massive problem. There is said door. It just means that getting in and out, I'll have to have the door swing in a certain way, and if there's a big car in like the Picasso, it might not be so easy to get through into this bit of the workshop. But with the lift height up here, it does mean that even if I have the door opening inwards, it wouldn't hit the lift as long as the lift is all the way up. But yeah, you can see the amount of eaves height I've got there, while the lifts go right up into the eaves. So you can't use an awful lot of height here unless you've got something very wedgy and Lotus-like. There's enough length on here that means put a car in the middle of the lift and then send it up and use a lot of that space up there. And with the weather turning, we've also had an awful lot of rain, which means my garden now looks something akin to the Somme. Muddy. That's going to be nice for bringing a Rolls Royce over to put it in the garage. Think I might have to fix this first. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.